Place informs identity, cultural identity, national identity, spiritual identity, gender identity, ethnic identity. Our narratives are formed by the sights, the sounds, the smells, the allowances of the spaces we inhabit. Growing up in Alabama with this legacy of bigotry, outwardly ill treatment of people of color, seeing racist ideology and closed-mindedness wrapped in pretty packages with Southern hospitality written on the front of them, set a base for my mental trajectory. You see, because of that place, I questioned the capabilities of anyone of minority race. I felt I had to be something else in order to give to this world, in order to live in this world. I never felt connected, only disconnections due to a skin color I never had control over. I didn't belong. So I set off on a quest, traveling around on that stereotypical search for self. And I fell in love with this city the first time I laid eyes on this city. The first time I traveled down a laneway and found another laneway within a laneway with Leo on the corner telling me to wake up and plant my own seeds that lead to dreams. This city speaks to me because it is a place where you can embrace your quirks and eccentricities, where social consciousness drives action, where people regularly gather in open spaces, or really any space where the sun is shining and there's a patch of grass to lie on, where I own rocking up to a cafe and ordering a weak soy latte, where trams and trains and streets are filled with languages I don't speak. It's a place where the arts are encouraged, the arts are supported, where the city is art. Because this city knows that art in all of its capacities, leading to complexities, valuing voices of all ethnicities, leads to change. This city speaks to me through its willingness to try new things, never in slow motion, always seeking progress, adapting, morphing, transforming, telling its inhabitants that sameness is ordinary, be different. There's a space for your individuality. It doesn't matter what you appear to be, what you're perceived to be, just be. This city speaks to me. It has seen the best and worst of me, and the reason it hasn't gotten rid of me is because I found what had been missing from my identity, the thing no other place has ever offered me, and that is community. No one person bigger than the whole, multiple moving parts functioning, encouraging authenticity, providing the space to find your place, to find your pace, a chance to make judgmentless mistakes. This city speaks to me, listens to me, it has claimed me. It is my home. I belong. Hey, I'm Ebony Moncrief, and you all are joining me here at Ferdy Dirt, smack dab in the heart of Melbourne CBD. And this is one place in Melbourne that I call home, but I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, lived there until I was about 22, lived a few other places in the state. Then I set off on a journey, and I ended up in this place called Melbourne, this place that just resonated with me from the moment that I got here. It's a place that has been able to bring out a side of me that was always there, but it just lay dormant. I suppose the thing that brought me to Melbourne was just the fact that I wanted to travel. I was living in America, living in Colorado, and I was working for this multi-billion-dollar corporation and making a decent amount of money, but I found myself not happy. I knew that something needed to change. I knew that something was boiling, something was shifting, and I arrived first in Sydney, did that thing for a month, but it didn't stick, it didn't draw me in, and I came to Melbourne right after that, and immediately, as I said before, I knew that I found home, and the city was drawing me in. It was doing this dance with me, and it got to a point where I just couldn't deny it anymore. And when I made the decision, I said, hey, I want to live here in this place, I want to live here in this space, and then everything just started to come together. I was meeting all these beautiful people in this place, because that's kind of what Melbourne does. You know, you just sort of gravitate to one another. I went to a slam at Bella Union, and that was the moment that I felt community, because the poets in that space, as my words left me on the stage, they started clicking, willing them back to me, and I felt safe. I felt accepted. I felt supported. I feel all of these things that community provides you, and that's when it really hit me. Because what Melbourne had already staked its claim on me. It knew that I had found home, but that's when it hit me in that moment on that stage, performing my poetry, that yeah, this is my home. You can figure out who you are within community connection. You can get people from different walks of life to all converge. That is the crux of this place. There's so many opportunities for people to meet one another and connect, and you really don't even have to try that hard. The people are what makes the difference. I think Melbourne can definitely step its game up a bit when it comes to sustainability, to environmental practices, to green living. I know that there are a lot of people who are conscious of these issues, but Melbourne is so special. We could do a little bit better in that regard, just little simple things. I talk a lot about change in my poetry, and the tiniest things make a difference, you know? I think more people have to start realizing that it doesn't have to be, I'm trying to fix everything. Going back to communities, larger global change starts on a very local scale when you rid people of complacency, and that complacency which often breeds laziness, and you start thinking, all right, I'm aware of what's going on within my local community, how that affects a more national community and that a global community, but you have to take a few steps back. And once you're aware of those things, you can start to implement change on those small scales, and that makes such a difference, because when mindsets begin to change, I think that's what becomes infectious. We have a long way to go, but we have to keep spreading these words, keep finding these excuses to gather and again connect to other people and hear what they have to say about social issues, see how they're reading and interpreting and existing in this world, and I have to believe that things will get better. My writing process, it sees stability and instability, which is for sure. Artistic practices, they fluctuate, you know, they fluctuate with intensity and passion. It's very much waking up, reaching down on the floor where my notebook is, pulling it up and either jotting down the dreams, because I dream very vividly and have those weird dreams that everybody has where nothing makes sense but everything makes sense until you wake up, you know? And it's really interesting the things that come into your mind when you're in that, I've just woken up, I'm barely awake, my mind is still all kinds of fuzzy. Like, you really see into your psyche. I'm big on writing prompts, and I suggest anyone try different writing prompts. Some of them, and I integrate these into writing workshops too, I use visual prompts. You see these images, and some of them are very visceral. Another thing, I love dictionaries and thesauruses and play these little word games. Just things like that keep my head thinking, it keeps me sharp, and it makes me continue to want to write, because it gets hard. You can come against blocks, and I mean, you're constantly looking for inspiration through books, through activities, through people, but sometimes these blocks make it difficult to just sit down and do it. So when you distract your mind from the having to do it, and you just say, okay, I'm gonna go back to the basics and have a play with this, you know, that's what it's all about. It's about passion, it's about enjoying it, so let's remember why it was fun in the first place. There are so many opportunities for people who want to find a way to pull out parts of yourself. You know, Melbourne has so many avenues for that. There's so many open mics, there's so many workshops, and no one's expecting anything of you. All you're committing to is giving it a shot, is trying, being vulnerable, which is one of the hardest things to do, but within vulnerability lies strength. Let me just personal experience, that vulnerability, that strength, that there is something to it. It's made me a stronger person. It's made me a bolder person. It's made me exist within my own individuality so much more in a much more rooted way. There's something about showing your scars to the world and just not caring what someone will think or what they will say, and writing has done that for me. And if you're thinking about it even remotely about giving it a shot, just don't think, just do it.